Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Oluchi. So today guys, I want to do something a little bit special. Instead of doing traditional books, I would like to introduce you guys to the world of Webtoon. If you guys don't know what Webtoon is, it's basically this site that's home to thousands of stories with different genres like sci-fi, fantasy, historical fiction, mythology. Not only does it have a variety in genres, it also has different comic styles if you don't like the traditional manga drawing style. So all in all, Webtoon is for everyone. Different ages, different backgrounds. I feel like Webtoon is just a site that's curated to everyone's specific tastes. And I try and read multiple different Webtoons at once because one thing about Webtoon is that not all the comics, the stories are released all in one go. Usually the writer would release each chapter like every single week. So like one chapter each week or one chapter each like every 2 weeks. So it's never something that's constant when it comes to how much content you're gonna get. So I try and read like a variety of comics at once. And so I'm always looking for new comics. And the other day, or not even the other day, anytime I search for like different Webtoon comics to read or different comics to read on Webtoon, I only get articles. I never see a video with someone actually talking about guiding you through the process of choosing a comic to read on Webtoon. So I thought to myself, why don't I make my own list and share it with you guys? This is my own personal list of the Webtoons that I believe that you should be reading right now. The first Webtoon on my list is actually a Webtoon that I first started reading in January of this year. I actually started reading this Webtoon literally on January the 2nd of 2022. And I kid you not, I did not sleep the whole night because it was just so good. If you guys don't know one thing about me, I'm a sucker for historical fiction. And for people that are also suckers of like historical fiction mixed in with a little bit of fantasy, the Remarried Empress is the Webtoon you need to be reading. Basically, this Webtoon follows the story of Navier Trovy. And Navier is your usual empress. She's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's sophisticated. She was raised from a very young age to marry the soon-to-be emperor of the Eastern Kingdom. And that is Sovishu. So Navier and Sovishu have known each other ever since they were younger, and they were never really in love. It was just part of their duty to marry each other, part of their duty to fulfill this need to the Eastern Kingdom. So Navier is loved by the Eastern Kingdom, her subjects, until one day Sovishu brings home this peasant girl called Rashta. He ends up falling in love with this peasant girl, and she threatens Navier's position as the Empress of the Eastern Kingdom. Guys, I'm trying not to spoil it, but this Webtoon is so good. I wish it was a novel. I wish it was a novel. I wish it was a TV show. I wish it was a movie. I don't know why a lot of people don't talk about the Remarried Empress because it's so good. The characters will literally stay with you. The characters are so memorable. You guys are going to hate. When I tell you hate, you guys are going to hate so many characters in this Webtoon, but you're also going to love so many characters. This isn't really a spoiler because when they are promoting the Remarried Empress, they actually do tell you the plot twist of the Webtoon. So basically, Sovishu brings home Rashta, the peasant girl. The Empress Sovishu brings home to the kingdom the peasant girl Rashta, and she basically bewitches him with her looks and everything. And Sovishu goes to Navier, the Empress of the Eastern Kingdom, like royalty, and tells her, I want a divorce and I want to marry Rashta, the peasant girl. So this causes like an uproar in the kingdom. Navier's family is just like, heck no. Everyone is just basically angry, and Navier, being as sophisticated and as queen-like as she is, she didn't play dirty. What she did is she went ahead and remarried. What Navier does to retaliate is she doesn't say anything. She just goes ahead and remarries the emperor of another kingdom. And so she still retains her title and her childhood dream of being an empress. So a lot of shocking twists and turns in this Webtoon. Like I said, you're going to love some characters, you're going to hate some characters. There is just so many twists, and there's also like a dab of fantasy there. I literally was hooked, guys. I was buying chapters. When I start buying chapters, just know that the Webtoon has officially hooked me. So the Remarried Empress is definitely a webtoon that if you aren't currently reading, you need to add it on your TBR list on Webtoon. The next webtoon on my list that I definitely recommend to you guys is also kind of a mix between fantasy, but it's a mix between fantasy, romance, and just realism. So by what I mean by realism is that the whole webtoon isn't just fantasy. It's actually just ordinary life, and then fantasy comes in out of nowhere. So this comic is one you guys probably already know, but one that I will constantly rave about, and that is Sirens Lament. Sirens Lament follows the story of Lyra, who is this ordinary girl living an ordinary life until one day she's literally plunged into the world of sirens. And she's put under this curse that if she doesn't break this curse, it will drastically change her life forever. Lyra has also had this crush on this guy called Sean, who's her best friend's brother. So it also has that trope of like best friend's brother falling in love with your best friend's brother, if that's a trope. But yes, basically Lyra starts catching feelings for her best friend's brother, Sean. She basically gets heartbroken, that leads to her turning into a siren, or in other words, a mermaid. But I think the creator used siren instead of mermaid because mermaids are typically more friendlier, but sirens specifically have a reputation for not being as friendly, and these mermaids are not as friendly. So Sirens Lament is just basically this webtoon about heartbreak, about falling in love, your first love, about definitely your first love is a trope in this one because they're different first loves, about breaking curses, moving on, grief, sadness. Sirens Lament, I feel like, just has so many tropes. And I was actually really surprised that I ended up loving this webtoon as much as I did. I didn't think I was going to love Sirens Lament as much as I did, but like I said, once I start buying those chapters, once the money starts leaving my bank account, that's when you know I'm sold. Oh my gosh, guys. This next webtoon is actually adapted from a book that the author has already published. So if you guys go ahead and read this webtoon, but you guys just want more, you guys just want that sauce, then just go ahead and buy the books. This next webtoon is titled The Wrath and the Dawn. The Wrath and the Dawn is basically the retelling of 1,000 Arabian Nights. This fictional land ruled by this Caliph of Khorasan, because I think the land is called Khorasan. So every single night, Caliph takes on a new bride, but by the morning, the bride is dead. He kills the bride. Our main character is 16-year-old Shazrat. I'm just gonna call her Shazi throughout like my description. 16-year-old Shazi gets really angry when her friend is one of the brides of Caliph. So Caliph marries Shazi's friend without knowing it. So he gets married to her friend, and the next day, obviously, Shazi's friend is dead, just like every single bride that the Caliph has married. Only for Shazi to volunteer. She says, I'm going to be Khalid's new bride because I'm going to get vengeance. I'm going to seek vengeance for what he did to my friend. And Khalid has no idea that this girl, this 16-year-old bride he's taking in is not really here just to be his wife and to be like, you know, the queen of the land. No, she's there for vengeance for her friend. The night comes and Khalid is bored. He's like, you already know what's going to happen to you the next morning. I have a duty and you're going to die. And what Shazi does is she starts telling Khalid stories. And these are stories of mythical lands, fairy tales, folk tales. And Khalid is so intrigued. And what she does, she'll just give you a little bit. And when it's like a plot twist, she doesn't tell you. So by the time morning comes, Khalid is like, tell me the ending of the story. Tell me the ending of the story. And Shazi's like, no, I'm not telling you the ending of the story. You can go ahead and kill me. And so he's like, fine. But because that story was so good, he's like, you know what? Maybe one more night. So Shazi does this every single night to keep herself alive. And before you know it, these two end up falling in love. These two end up falling in love, and Shazi hates this because she almost feels like this is betrayal. Like she's betraying her friend that died by the hands of this monster. How could she love this monster? Soon it will be revealed in the end, like why he kills these new brides before the dawn breaks. And I just absolutely loved this comic. I love the comic. The comic isn't finished yet. I love the comic, and I also love the novels so much. So if you're somebody that loves reading books and you've just started this comic, I definitely recommend go ahead and purchase the novels. You would not regret it. I've read all 3 of them. Love all 3 of them. They're one of my favorite trilogies ever. It is such a fantastic story that will leave you crying, screaming with joy. Your hearts will just be like beating, guys. Like your heart will just be full of like warmth, because the story between them and just the conflict of the heart, and conflict also because there are consequences when you don't do what you're supposed to do. And basically this novel just tells you and just illustrates what's going to happen. So if you haven't already checked out this comic, or you haven't read it and you like that sort of thing, like romance, and you kind of like things with a bit of Arabian folklore, add this to your TBR. You will not regret it. The next comic is another adaptation. Actually, it's not a novel, it's a graphic novel, so it's kind of like a comic already. So it's a graphic novel, and it's gotten adapted into Webtoons, and it's also gotten adapted into a Netflix TV show that is doing exceedingly well. And that is Heartstopper by Alice Oseman. If you want something that's fast, quick, and will leave you feeling so warm and like fuzzy inside, and something that's kind of light, then I definitely recommend Heartstopper. Heartstopper follows the story of Charlie, who's openly gay, and Nick, who is this soft-hearted, cheerful rugby player at an all-boys British school. Charlie is also on the rugby team, and this is how he meets Nick, and they become friends, and soon the friendship will maybe blooms into something more. And I just feel like this is such a nice read. Like, there's nobody that has read Heartstopper that has anything bad to say. At least from what I've seen, nobody has read Heartstopper and is like, I hate Heartstopper, it makes me so angry. No, like everyone that's read Heartstopper just has nice, beautiful things to say, because it's such a sweet story about 2 young boys, and also has different other characters that just go through their own personal things. So if you want a comic that is rich with diversity, representation, Heartstopper is definitely the comic for you. Now, this webtoon comic that I'm recommending are for fans specifically of the horror and thriller genre. I am somebody, I could not do horror, but because of the raving reviews about this comic, and just because it just kept on popping up in my feed, I just decided to check it out. And I kid you not, the stories are so well done that I am actually recommending a horror comic, anything horror, to you guys out there, and that is Harangue. And it's completed, so it's kind of like Sirens Lament. The author is adding no more chapters because it's a completed webtoon comic. So if you guys like horror, you guys like thriller, you like being at the edge of your seats in anticipation, then put Harangue on your TBR list. The next webtoon comic I'm about to recommend you is going to blow you out of your shoes. And that is, to me, the god of webtoon comics. The webtoon comic that started my love for webtoon comics is Lore Olympus. Can we hear some, where the claps, please? Can we make some noise for Lore Olympus and its impact on the webtoon community? Because I think it's the most popular webtoon comic on the platform for like years now. Lore Olympus is basically the retelling of the Greek mythology story of Persephone and Hades, and how Hades kidnapped Persephone and brought her back to the underworld. For fans of Greek mythology, if you're somebody that grew up reading Percy Jackson, or just grew up loving Greek mythology and just being obsessed with it, so you're one of those people that know everything there is about Greek mythology, especially this story between Hades and Persephone, then go ahead and read Lore Olympus. Guys, I wasn't even a webtoon comic fan back in the beginning of 2018. By the end of 2018, I was sold, and Lore Olympus sold me. I literally read everything that the creator had put out till that month, and it was a lot. I was just reading it, and I had homework to do, guys, and I was just reading it. I was like, it's so good. And how many years later? 4 years later, and I'm still a fan of the comic. 4 years later, I'm not only up to date because she took a break, like a 5-6 month break. She came back this year recently. I'm not only still reading Lore Olympus 4 years later, I'm even a much bigger fan of the comic now, and I just know like whatever the author chooses to do with the story in the future, I just know it's going to be remarkable. It doesn't have your traditional style when it comes to comic book drawing. It doesn't have your traditional style. It isn't even your traditional story. The way the author just mixed up Greek mythology with just like modern day realism and just life, modern day ordinary life, is just spectacular. It is so good. The characters are just their own persons. The characters are just distinguished in their own intrinsic complex personalities, and you're just going to enjoy the story so much, guys. Like, there's nobody that's read Lore Olympus that doesn't like Lore Olympus. And if you don't like Lore Olympus, and if you have read Lore Olympus, then tell me why, because I would be extremely interested to know why it just wasn't for you. Lore Olympus is one of those webtoons that if you're not reading it, I don't know what to say. You guys saw my enthusiasm. That enough should make you, or should prompt you, or should just encourage you to start reading Lore Olympus, or just in general to start reading any of these webtoons that I mentioned in this video. Alright guys, that is the end of my video. I hope you enjoyed this video just as much as I enjoyed compiling this list of just amazing webtoons that I absolutely love and adore, and just want to go ahead and share it with you guys, because I just want you guys to just have a taste of what I've been enjoying, guys. So if you guys love this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you guys have already read some of these comics that I mentioned on this list, tell me the ones you've read in the comments, why you like it, and which one you even recommend to me, guys. I am constantly searching for new webtoon comics, so if you guys have any recommendation, leave it in the comment section below. I will definitely check it out, and I will definitely tell you guys the comics that you guys have recommended to me and how I feel about it. So thank you guys once again for watching this video, and if you guys aren't already part of the family, join the family, guys. Subscribe for more videos like this. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.